able to see the screen. So which is the memory and the IO interfacing, right? Are you able to?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So memory and IO interfacing. So just now I discussed about the interfacing. What are the various types of interfacing device that we are going to use? And what is an interface? So interface will act as an intermediate between the devices which we are connecting and the system bus, right? So here, if you are talking about the memory interfacing and the IO interfacing, these are the two different topics. So the memory interfacing is one hand and IO interfacing on another hand. So the memory, you can see it is connected to the three buses: address bus, data bus, and control bus. And the IO device are also will be connected to the three buses: data bus, address bus, and the control buses. So the microprocessor is playing a key role in this. So the microprocessor is having the three buses under its control, and the memory also will be under control of the microprocessor, and IO device also will be under control of the microprocessor if we have connected them to the three buses. These three buses we are calling them as a system bus. So what exactly it is doing in a memory and the IO interfacing? So the memory interfacing. So first I'll introduce the memory interfacing. When we are executing any instruction, for example, move A comma B, it is an instruction. That means moving the contents of B register to A register, move A comma B. When you are executing such kind of an instruction, so A and B are the registers. Here A and B are the register. Operation which we are performing is a MOV. That means moving the contents from B register to A register. So when we are executing such kind of an instructions, so first of all it will identify address of the memory location and whether it is coming from IO device or the memory location. The processor will try to find the information related to it, related to the instruction, whether it is an internal, whether it is an external, whether it is triggered from IO device or whether it is coming from the memory devices. So first it will identify that kind of the information. So the corresponding memory chip or IO device is selected by a concept called decoding. So fetch, execute, and decode. These are the three stages which we will have: fetch, decode, and execute. So fetching means from where the data is taken, and decoding is now it will identify names, whether it is from A register, B register, or memory location. That concept is called the decoding. And the circuit which is responsible for performing this decoding operation is called decoding circuit. Hope you understood. So the memory requires some signals to read from and to write into the registers, and the microprocessor transmit some signals for reading or writing the data. If you are connecting memory and IO to microprocessor, the microprocessor will perform either reading operation or the writing operation. So the interfacing process includes matching the memory requirements with the microprocessor signals. Okay, so therefore, if you are taking any interfacing circuit, it should be designed in such a way that it should match the memory signal of the microprocessor signal. We should design a circuit in such a way that it should map the memory signal of the generated microprocessor signal. So then only we can perform the memory interfacing or the memory mapping. The concept is called mapping. So the memory interfacing main responsibility is to identify from which memory location we are going to take the data. Internal, it is an internal. And next, IO interface. IO means the name itself indicating it is an input-output interfacing concept. That means there we can make use of the input-output devices. So as we know, keyboard and displays are used as common communication channel with the outside world. So therefore, it is necessary that we can interface keyboard and displays with the microprocessor for giving input and the taking the output. So this is called an interfacing. What type of interfacing? Input-output interfacing. For this type of interfacing, we may use different kind of the latches and buffers for interfacing the keyboards and displays with the microprocessor. But the main drawback of this interfacing concept is the microprocessor can perform only one function at a time. Why? Because device is one, so it will perform one function at a time, not more than that. Okay, so this concept is purely related to the connecting IO devices, and the concept we are calling it as an IO interfacing. Hope you understood. So as we know that, so IO bus and interfacing modules. So I'll not get into all these things, interface modules, what we are using. Just you try to understand the basic diagram, which we already saw processor, and on the other hand, we are having memory. So the memory will be connected to the data address and the control buses, and processor also will be connected to it. So here interface, and we saw this circuitry as well. What is the main responsibility of an interface is, interface decodes the device address, that means device code from where it is coming, port number, and decodes the commands, what type of operation you are performing, whether read write or the read write, both operations, read only, write only, or read write, and provide signals for the peripheral controller, like he is going to access or he is going to deactivate, activate, such kind of the signals will be sent to the peripheral controller, and synchronize the data flow, that means asynchronous or synchronous data transmission. Okay, and it will look after the data transfer rates between the peripheral and the CPU. Comparatively, CPU is having high speed compared to the peripheral devices. So what type of commands it can issue? The commands, function codes that can be issued by the IO interface, like interface, are the control command, status command, input command, output command. So input command is simply we are giving the data to the system. Output command is simply we are taking data from the system. But status command, so whether the data is sent successfully or not, what is the status of the data transmission? So either positive acknowledgement, negative acknowledgement. So what is the status? And the control command is like reading, writing. So those will comes under the control command. So the interface will do the following activities, especially in the case of IO and the like memory and the IO interfacing concept. Okay, so that is just a brief about the memory and the IO interfacing, where we are going to make use of the memory interfacing. The memory interfacing is mainly used in the case of the decoding the instruction, and the IO interfacing is mainly used in the case of the devices from where we are going to take the data and where we are sending the data. So that's it. That's about the memory and the IO interfacing topic. So these all are small topics only. Okay.